guys, this is White Ranger. It's actually my first bit of a guide video where we're going to discuss a little bit about different builds that I use in WvW. So we're going to hop in right now, give you a short introduction while I get to the loading screen. Okay, so what we're going to be discussing in this video are three main things. We're going to be talking about our stat priorities, different things we can offer in endgame gear. We're going to be talking about our utility skill loads and how we can change what we're exactly doing in WvW and not just keeping one skill set. You should never keep just one skill set while you're roaming, depending on the players in the map and constant players that you are playing with. Also optimizing your damage throughput when you're actually taking down a lot of sentries and taking mining camps and such. So we're just waiting on this load right here, just taking a bit longer than usual. Okay guys, so now that we're actually in the game, to cut the video a little bit, I'm going to actually start with our stat priorities. So let's open up my hero panel here and go to equipment. Okay, so obviously the first thing that you want to usually start building for WvW on a ranger, your main stat is going to be power. Now this is argued that you should go precision ferocity in a berserker's build, and that's usually good if you're taking out a lot of NPCs or if you're doing a lot of PvE content. Not so much if you're doing the PvP. I suggest your stat priorities be power, toughness, and then precision. Main fact being, ferocity is cool and it's very burst heavy. However, with the loadout I'm currently using, I use a very CC and support build. So when we do this, which is the most optimal, more survivability, we can have more uptime and take on multiple opponents at that point. At which point when you're getting ganked, you really don't want to have to run all the way back from your waypoint to get where the action is, because that's where you play it. Okay, so I'm sticking with power, toughness, and precision. Now vitality is a good thing, maybe because toughness will increase the amount of armor you have. Vitality isn't a main stat purely because a buffer doesn't stop a lot of abilities from just knocking you down if you're not using toughness as your secondary stat. You're going to end up just losing all your health, and it's not going to matter if they're hitting you with multiple abilities. So I prioritize toughness, which is why I was currently building knights. Okay, now knights gives the exact stat priority we were looking for, but I also convert it with a little bit of berserkers. I've gotten to about 1200 toughness, which is what I would suggest, and anything above 2000 power is pretty decent considering I'm in mostly exotic gear. I'm in all exotic gear, except for my back. So our stat priorities are there. As far as traits, this I pretty much leave up to you due to the fact that it can be different on a playstyle and depending on your weapon skills as well. For example, I currently use longbow with sword or moorhorn, which kind of is the meta right now. So I use that mainly because of the maneuverability that it gives and the fact that I can buff myself and move out of quick situations if my endurance is drained, and also my survival skill for backing up and getting 100% endurance regeneration is also on cooldown. I need something else because people will pull you in or they'll CC you and you won't always have a stun break. Now as far as my slot skills for my loadout, I'm using very recently Troll Ungent. Now I have experimented with using things like Healing Spring, and Healing Spring is very good in a Zerg, or if you have a few members that you're grouping with and you're taking down different towers. You do have a few blast finishers and definitely projectile finishers. In an area where you can stand and shoot off your multi-shot, you'll get tons of your regen. Procs is a 20% chance on each projectile, not just for the ability, so it procs quite a bit. So if you can use that, it's quite useful, and you can even use your pet abilities within the Healing Spring to generate blast AoE healing, which is really nice. Now what I was discussing earlier about our skill loadout was when we change it, is I don't always run Signet of the Hunt. Now it's cool, and the attack of opportunity I find I almost never use that. So rather than using Signet of the Hunt all the time, sometimes I won't even pop a Signet. Sometimes I will swap that to Quickening Zephyr when either I'm going into a group of players or I'm trying to take down loads of enemies at a single time. Reason being, it increases your damage and it increases your burst capability if you are trying to get their first half of the health down and actually weed them out so you can CC them the rest of the wave. Skills I don't normally change are actually my lightning reflexes, which I find is best in slot, as well as muddy terrain. Now I have muddy terrain so it immobilized if you have it on creation, and I find this works very well synergy with your barrage. You begin with barrage and you enter into muddy terrain. So now they've slowly entered while you've actually been able to pick them off with your basic attack ability, and then use your muddy terrain to immobilize them, and that's when you can go crazy and start popping all your cooldowns. Because chances are, if they do use their CC break, then your muddy terrain has a very, very short cooldown. I mean, 20 seconds is almost nothing if you use the trait. You can get that reduced, and I would suggest doing that because as a ranger, I've been able to take 2 or 3 people on at a time, either better or equal gear than me, and it was easier to maneuver them this way. Another skill loadout I constantly change out depending on the situation are these ones. I go between Entangle and Rampage as one. Entangle is a very good if you're going into a large group of people, or if you're expecting maybe players to start roaming in from another tower or something. I almost never use this single target because I have enough CC as it is, and I have enough maneuverability to stay away from my opponent, including my stealth. So what I usually run around with is the Rampage's one ability, mainly to the fact that it is also a burst and a CC counter. Okay, the swiftness, which counteracts me not running the Signet or the Hunt all the time, because your max movement speed in combat will always be, no matter what, 33%. You will go no higher than 33%. So when we use Rampage's 1, we're going to constantly be dealing more damage. It's on a 2-minute cooldown, so I usually run with this one on. It helps me take down camps quickly, because you don't always want to go to a camp and take forever to kill the champion lord, and then have it go from there. Nextly, a few more things I want to discuss about our slot skills is your weapon choice, in all honesty. Things I find unuseful completely in PvP are our axe main hand, our dagger offhand, our torch offhand, and that's pretty much it. The rest I think are fairly viable. Torch can be viable if you're running a condition build, and if you're a condition applier ranger, I will make a guide soon enough, or just some comment video of what I think about the condition ranger and the ultimate viability and what they can do. Mainly I go around as a roamer because I find that's the most casual and fun thing to do in world PvP. Short bow is really great. The one thing the longbow and warhorn ranger is missing is actually stuns. I really have no stuns, I just have a lot of CC through my utility skill loadout. So this gives you a lot, and I've seen some rangers run longbow, shortbow, and be very productive with it, and it can be. You can apply cripples, you can gain swiftness to yourself, you can daze people, you can apply poison, and you can also use crossfire, which applies bleeding. Once again, the condition build, I would suggest using shortbow in combination with an other condition weapon rather than longbow, which really does not apply conditions. Okay, so now that we've kind of gone over those, I kind of want to briefly go over the pets that I use. Now, I haven't gone out and got all the pets yet because I'm extremely lazy. At the moment, I am using the wolf and then a poison spider. So the wolf will give me the abilities. He will randomly leap and cripple your foe. So he does apply that condition, which I find extremely useful. He bites and he knocks them down as well. And the main reason I use him is as I'm CCing and being able to slow them down, if they don't have a lot of condition removal, though I'm not condition based, I still like to be able to throw out his Chilling Howl, which is not necessarily movement speed, but also the skill recharge rate. If I see that a warrior or a mage has popped a really big ability to do a lot of damage to me, I'm going to want that skill recharge rate to be multiply reduced. So staying on top of your opponent and paying attention to their abilities is incredibly important. So that's when I use my Chilling Howl. I hardly ever use it to actually just slow down my opponent because I have multiple abilities myself that do that, and multiple distance skill loadouts that I use. The reason for the spider here is actually, excuse me, rather than running the stun spider, which will immediately throw a snare on your target, I run the vulnerability spider. He will immobilize your target on chance. He also spawns a poison field on chance. He actually does this quite often. I think the poison gas is one of the most used abilities that they do. Also consider that it is also a ranged pet. So if you do a lot of decent pet management and you have it keybound, you can pull your pet out and in depending on where your opponent is. And you can keep the pet alive longer so it does more for you. Obviously, the longer the spider will live, the more she will use entangling web to your advantage. So when we go to the spit, it's fairly simple. Weakening venom is really good because it takes down their endurance and causes them to fumble, which is fantastic in my opinion. And we can stack their vulnerability with our rapid fire. Now the rapid fire immediately puts 10 stacks of it on, increasing 10% damage. Now if you use that in combination with this, you would obviously activate your weakening venom first, so that this will get a 3% damage upgrade. And then you're going to have 13% damage to wheedle down your foe. Now if you use rapid fire as your opener, it is very important that you maintain long shot range distance at all times. As long as you are staying near max range, you can get full damage output, and then usually you can actually weed them down enough with CC to actually pull off your rapid fire, which will most likely finish your opponent as long as you're prioritizing power and precision. Okay, so my build loadout also uses the superior rune of the ranger. This was purely due to the fact of how mobile I am. I wasn't prioritizing my other stats with this one. I was going straight for ferocity and precision. There's not a power precision rune that does what this one does for its last tier, so I went up that +7 damage while you have an active companion. Now players will attack your pets, and the main thing to keep in an idea is to keep your pet management. For example, I keep my pet management very easily keybound to me, so I am able to do what I have. I have a 12-button mouse, and I have them bound to 7, 8, and 9 on the mouse. So I constantly have all the abilities and a quick swap button that's located near my general range of motion on my keyboard. So make sure you have good pet management, because if you don't have good pet management, you're really not going to be able to pull off the abilities often, and it's just going to be a terrible experience. Okay, so we've gone over slot skills, different things you can use. I haven't experimented too much with using traps in themselves. I find them not very mobile. You can trade them to be more mobile. However, I find using Muddy Terrain is more than capable of doing the whole trap bit without the condition applier build. Okay, I don't use the spirits purely because they are boon based, and I have no boon basing or boon boosting anything. So if you want to start the Ranger Roamer, I would suggest once again stat priority power, toughness, precision, not vitality. Power, toughness, precision, which is of course your knight set. Now your soldier set from wherever you get your exotic armor will give you a lot more survivability, but you're also going to have a lot less damage capability. I mean, I myself, when I was running a Berserker's build, which is full Zerkers on everything, now my bow is still Berserkers, stat priority, to whereas I actually went on a Vitality Toughness build on my offhands, because your stats will change when you swap weapons. So obviously if I don't want to be taking more damage, I'm also going to use things that will increase my chance of living. That's why my Warhorn has a chance when I swap to it to actually chill foes, so they will be slowed down and their cooldowns will be reduced while I back up. I am looking to get a better rune in this one. I just kind of slotted in Superior Sigil of Accuracy because it's sitting in my bag. My stat priorities for almost all my amulets are, see, this one's a little bit tankier. I went purely power, precision, ferocity here due to the fact that I wanted my damage loadout to be good. I wanted to keep my critical damage at 200%, and I wanted to go no lower than that. 200% is a really good measure. Okay, because then at the point you're getting 2 times critical damage, and that's really, really good. You don't need more than 200% with this build, considering the range you stay from your opponent. As far as countering other classes, I believe that's something you should do more experience-based and different things like that. So, this is my first actual guide video. I'm kind of rushing through it. I intend to slow down in the future. So, let me know what you would like. I can do more PowerPoint 2 video things. Just, you need to comment below. No one ever comments. You need to comment. That's it, guys. Thank you. Rate and subscribe.